Phil and Will are back. Another episode of Survivor in the books. Final 10 is now down to final 9. We got our second member of the jury tonight. Nothing really too surprising. To me, this is a little bit of a frustrating episode, and I know we're going to take it from the top, but to watch Jen fall so far from where, like, the love we've had for her, I was very annoyed with her tonight, and I hope she recovers from it because that was brutal.
I think a recovery is fully possible. And by the way, I'm in my sister's kitchen because I'm on vacation right now. So this is a serious dedication here. Kind of, there's no other rooms to really do it in where people aren't, living. So this is the kitchen podcast.
And I'm still in my basement. So,
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, Jen could still it's gonna come to the point where we see this all the time on Survivor where people are like just so down and out, and then oh man, it turns around. Jen wins the reward. She gets happy. She gets a letter from home, maybe, and then she's all giggles, all smiles, making alliances. Remembers that this is a game she loves. And I'm not saying she's gonna win or anything, but it's not like I don't think they're here on out. Jen is just kind of dead weight. Like Will is still more dead weight than Jen. Than Jen is.
I think what kind of happened to Jen was she lost a really close friend out there. I don't think she was as close with Joe in the game as she is out of the game now, because obviously they seem like they're really good friends outside of the game. Shireen, I don't think she really liked, and I really don't think that she thought there was a crack in the alliance. So her whole deal, I'm pretty sure, was get me the hell out of here. I'm going to go hang out at Ponderosa with Haley. We're going to have a really good time. I don't feel like dealing with this. I'm not going to win. This is annoying. I think she realized – I think she thought that she was going to be one of the next 3 out because there was no way to break into those alliances. So just get me out of here. I want to go hang out with Haley. I don't want to be here.
Yeah. I don't think it's a quit where it's like I can't deal with this anymore physically or emotionally. She's just like, I can't really make anything happen. And, that like what you're saying, it's like she has her best friend in this like mansion resort in Nicaragua with infinite food and alcohol. Like that sounds pretty good when your chances of winning are almost zero. I don't think it was like, oh, it rained last night. I'm so cold. And not like a typical Survivor quit. She's just like whatever. Like Jeff said.
Well, I think what it came down to with her was Joe wanted to be there more than she did. Joe had a better chance to go on an immunity run, and Jen really felt like a sitting duck, I feel like, and I feel like she wasn't close enough with Joe or Shireen to be like, let me do it for these people. It was kind of like if they want to still be here, maybe Joe can go on a run. I can't.
It would have been so cool to see Jen win.
That would have been awesome.
Too bad. She came so close too. Okay, let's take it from the top of the episode. Unless you have anything to say before we get into like.
No, I mean this was a good episode. We didn't get to hear from many people, but I think that the voting confessionals kind of said it all. Tyler said it and Rodney said it. I have no idea what's going on, and I think that's why I kind of focused heavily on Mike.
What this season's been so good at is when we kind of know there's not going to be a power switch or anyone flipping or anything kind of big or a blindside or an idol. They've made it still really good. Like with Max and Shireen, they didn't tease us with is Kelly or Caroline flipping. They teased us with who's more annoying, Max or Shireen. It's not like you have to pick a side of alliance. They're picking between two people in the same alliance. We saw that again tonight with Jen and Joe. And like with them voting for each other, kind of with Joe voting for Jen and then Jen tossing it to Dan, and there's a fake idol. So like it was still very exciting and dramatic, even though we knew there wasn't going to be this huge blindside. Like we knew it was going to be Jen or Joe.
Yeah, what I'm saying is this whole episode, we didn't get a confessional from Tyler, Carolyn, Sierra. Did Dan even get one? Will definitely didn't get one. I don't think Dan got one. I mean, that's half the cast.
Did Carolyn get one?
No. I mean, that's half the cast.
Yeah, we still got to get them out from Rodney, though.
I think it's just because nobody else knew what was going on, and I think that's why they didn't bother focusing on them because it didn't play into them.
Yeah, it didn't. There wasn't much to tell from those people, like in the majority alliance right now. Like Joe lost the immunity challenge. Like it's such a easy thing. Like we saw it. Like let's split the votes. Good, we're done. Okay, good. The only drama was like what Shireen was going to do, and if like with Mike and this idol deal. We'll get into all that.
Yeah.
Let's start from the top. We have Dan explaining to Shireen that Cass is a flip, not a blind side. He's describing the difference between a blind side and a flip. And that Tony didn't flip. It was just blind sides. And I actually agree with Dan. Like, I really am not the biggest Dan fan, but this is what I was saying last week. Tony was not a flipper. He blindsided people, then returned to his own alliance. And that is very different from, voting with one group of people to voting with another group of people for multiple votes. He would just target people in his own alliance that were threats and then return to those same people, and they would somehow still trust him, and he still got to the end. Still, though, I still agree with Dan.
And I kind of agree with Dan on that one. I hear what you're saying, but this had, in an episode full of great exchanges, this might have been one of the best exchanges and showed really just how bad of a Survivor player Dan is. Shireen says, Mike, when I'm on the jury, I'm voting for you to win. And Dan's rebuttal, very cleverly, is because you will be on the jury. Like, way to get that jury management down, Dan. Like, way to do that really well. Way to handle that like a champ. Like, way to just punch her in the face as she's already told you she's not going to vote for you. You're like, you know what? You're not going to vote for me. Like, get down. You're not voting for me. Like, I don't understand. That's so many mistakes. Like, that's just so many he's made now. And it's just it gets more ridiculous every week.
Yeah, I mean, for much as I agree with Dan about the cast Tony thing and a flip versus a blind side, blah, 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 he was right there, but that doesn't mean he knows what the hell he's talking about at really any other time. He pretends like he's this huge fan. He's talking down to Shireen, who's like also this huge fan. And it's clear that he doesn't know the social game at all. He doesn't know anything about jury management, and that he, like, who does he think he's going to the end with, and whose votes does he think he has? Like,
I think he thinks he's going with Sierra and Mike, and I don't know if he thinks he can beat Mike. If he thinks he can beat Mike, he's insane.
Or like even Sierra, actually.
Yeah, because Sierra hasn't rubbed anybody the wrong way.
Yeah, Dan has like had kind of an altercation with like who's Dan like boys with that because if let's say Mike isn't on the jury, that's like Dan's only friend. He gets Mike's vote, maybe. I mean, Mike has lots of friends. It's funny how Dan talks like he's this super fan when he just doesn't know what on earth he's doing.
Yeah, it makes for entertaining TV right now, though. I'm loving every second of these exchanges between some of these people, and it's funny.
We did get a confessional from Rodney because I wrote down this quote that was just money.
No, I know we got one from Rodney. We got a couple from Rodney.
Okay, yeah. He was saying this four thing is we get it like every time there's a previously on Survivor, we're getting this Rodney 4. Shireen beautifully brought up this Rodney 4 to Mike, who claimed to have even noticed it himself, that there's a 4 within his 7. And Rodney says, I don't need friends. I need zeros in my bank account. Just awesome. And then he goes on to say something about Mike Tyson with the knockout punch. I mean, he calls out an athlete like every episode, I think.
Oh, yeah. He has been so many athletes on this show. It's been unreal. I mean, he was Tom Brady. He was Mike Tyson. I mean, I don't know if this time he said he was Mike Tyson, but he has to have the all-time record for name drops. He name drops somebody every week, and it's normally entertaining. I mean, I think Rodney – I've been hard on Rodney a lot, but if Rodney's plan were to work out, Rodney's the only one – like, Rodney's had the best plan this whole game. Like, if it were to work out. I don't think it's going to. It looks like next week everything's blowing up.
Yeah, it's not going to work out.
But he's had a plan from the beginning, and it looks like he's making it work, So
I mean, so far so good. I mean, they're still all in the game. I mean, originally it was Kelly, but immediately he got Tyler in there because supposedly Rodney and Carolyn are really, really tight. That's what Haley was saying in her exit interview. They're like mother-son, kind of East Coast, love for each other. But Shireen had a big episode tonight, and we saw her a lot early on. And she went up to Mike and said, look, Mike, you don't have the majority within your own alliance. Use me as a number. And we saw her just kind of go up and say it. And I forget what she said in her confession. It was something like, I know like the strategy or something. And then I guess later she talked about a number loophole. But, I don't think this is like the savviest, craziest move. But it was smart of her to approach Mike.
This was a great episode for Shireen, and this kind of finally started to show that she's not all talk and she does have something going on up there, because right from the get-go, her going up to Mike and like pretty much asking Mike to let her in, she's already moved herself ahead of Jen and Joe. And now if Mike really does need her, she's looking at Final 4, possibly Final 3, easy. You know what I mean? Like she's moved herself from, she didn't give up, like kind of like what Jem was doing tonight. It seemed like Jem was giving up. She didn't do that. Instead, she fought and went to the main guy of a sub-alliance that didn't have the numbers. And she said, hey, if you want the numbers, you're going to need me. And I think it made perfect sense, and I thought it worked out. I thought she looked really smart doing everything tonight, even though the car analogy made no sense.
Which one was that?
She's in the passenger seat, backseat driving.
I did like that one, actually. I thought that was great.
I mean, it makes sense. It's just funny.
It does make sense. She's telling the driver what to do. And while the driver is the one probably going to either be the bigger threat, get blindsided, or piss people off come final tribal council. So that's actually perfect for a Survivor, that analogy. I did like that one.
Yeah, and then right after that, they went right to the reward challenge, which was awesome. That was a great reward challenge. I wish they would have done that for tribal immunity, like back in the beginning, because that was a cool challenge.
That was just a bunch of fun. They have to climb up these slides they literally wiggle. They're not that sturdy. Like watching Dan and Will just get up to the slides was fun to watch. And then they slide down, and then there's like this net that people are like diving head first into like a net. But are they supposed to walk across it, swim across it, run?
Why are they diving into it? There was nowhere to go. Like, just get up and run across it. I don't understand. Every time somebody dove into it, I'm like, they're going to get stuck in the net. Like, what are they doing? It made no sense, and a lot of them did it.
That worked. I don't know, because I think it was like a foot below, like sea level or the water.
You don't dive into a foot of water. It's barely up to your shins.
But it's like a loose net. Like, I was confused. Like, what even? Just from like a challenge designer's perspective, like. What were you supposed to do? Or they kind of just said, you know what, we'll just wing it. It's kind of half water, half net. Like, it was fun either way. Will and Dan, them going simultaneously, I loved how that worked out. One of the funnier challenges we've seen this season. Maybe Kelly getting hit in the head was pretty cool too.
But yeah, this was a lot of fun to watch everybody really stumble and stuff. And I mean, that Tyler was falling. I mean, everybody diving into the net was confusing. Dan and Mike they couldn't do anything right. And then Carolyn could barely get across the thing. I think Shireen fell a couple times. Tyler fell. Like, it was a good bang 'em up Survivor thing, challenge. It was fun to watch, and it was exciting to the end. Although I think we kind of knew Jem wasn't going to win because they showed her being way too negative. So
one more thing on the challenge before we get into Jen is the balance beam, pretty long, slippery, but there was like a plank, probably about 3 to 4 feet that you kind of had to clear. So people were leaping off the balance beam, not into water, but hitting their bodies on just like a pretty sturdy plank. So that was definitely it was just a fun. Like, we needed these big obstacle course water challenges. I love them. Keep them coming. But yeah, with Jen, we thought this. We're saying there's no way Jen wins this challenge. That red team was doomed because we knew Jen was gonna, say something about quitting or not wanting to be here. But the reward was a little weak this week. I'd never planned on talking this much about rewards this season, but the rewards have been kind of questionable. These rewards.
Well, this one, what I like about this means that Survivor has some sponsors left. Because they had Snickers and Dove and all that stuff. And a lot of times in the later seasons, there haven't been many sponsors for Survivor.
That's just all Mars. That's just all Mars.
Okay, but still, what I'm saying is it's still Mars is sponsoring. And in the past, for a couple seasons now, there really hasn't been any sponsorship. It used to be like whatever pizza came out with some sort of pizza, Verizon calls, and then it kind of turned into here's a slice of pizza. They made it in the backyard. I'm glad to see that Mars is now, because we haven't seen Mars sponsor them.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, we usually get Charmin toilet paper every now and then. But yeah, I was just interested with that this was it, because I think last week was a really good reward. Like, there were sandwiches, soda, chips, cookies. I don't remember exactly what it was. They got to go ziplining, and this was just chocolate. I was almost sure there was going to be letters from home. Like, I was pretty surprised not to see letters from home. Jeff kind of hinted at it when he said a little taste from home or something. Did you expect that?
This one might have been a little bit less of a good reward because it was a team versus a team. It was like I think the first one was meant to be better because it was the whole It was the first one after the merge. Like the first individual reward challenge. I think they kind of wanted the picking to be a little more dramatic because, like, if you got to pick people and it's this cool of a reward, it's even harder to pick. With this one, I think because it was team versus team and there was no picking involved, they might have taken like one of their lesser rewards to get the sponsors out there. And then next week you might see another great one if it really is just an individual challenge.
Okay, yeah, that makes enough sense. No idol clue though. I guess because they know Mike found it, or did no one see it?
I'm sure somebody found an idol clue, and it's just not playing into the storyline.
But it's always so funny. I mean, they hide them in these, kooky places. It's always, even if we know where the idol is, I just wonder if they even bother with it anymore. Because, like, it's true.
It's
true. We still don't have this advantage. Like, it's.
They didn't hint at the advantage for next week either.
Yeah, no, it looks like, I remember we said this way long ago, where like it's got to be either a tribal thing. If not, we'll see the first episode of the merge. If not, then they can't introduce it at final 7. I mean, we're sitting at final 9 right now, and we still have not seen this advantage.
And what's
supposedly such a cool advantage, and it's supposedly it's new, and it's like I'm just at a loss for like what it is.
What scares me is that it might have too much of a play now because it's coming in so late. And I don't want it to have a huge impact on the end game when it didn't have an impact on the middle or beginning game. Like, I don't want it to just come out of nowhere and totally ruin someone's game and totally get somebody else to the top. If you're going to do that, the other person should have a chance to recover, so it should be at, like, final 10, final 11. I'm hoping this isn't something so big like the Yule Super Idol that really just let him walk to the end. You know what I mean? Granted, it was hard. He had to do a lot of strategizing, but he had the Super Idol the whole time.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's, like, maybe just something won at an auction now. Like, it's just a one-time thing. I wasn't thinking that for so long.
And that's what the one girl had tweeted at us last week, that she thought it was going to be at the auction. And I mean, that just seems like it's too late in the game. It really does, but maybe it is.
I mean, it could be something really cool and interesting, and it's like you can buy it at the auction. But because it's been teased so heavily, it's just that would just kind of be a letdown. Like if it's a one-time use thing.
I agree on that too, but let's go to something happier. And right after the reward challenge, they were eating fried chicken. What's up?
Yeah, happy for everyone else, but pretty sad for Jen. If you let's look at the sequence of events with Jen. So on the mat after, Jeff was like, "How does it feel to lose?" Of course, he asked Jen, who's just like having the worst time now that Haley's gone. And she says, "You don't know what this feels like until you've played Survivor," which is totally a legitimate statement. Not really saying anything about not being happy to be there at all. And then Joe, like the one person you'd think would kind of be on Jen's side, the one person that is like her friend from day one, even Joe just kind of throws her on the bus saying, "I'm happy to be here. Like, I don't, we signed up for this." And like, that wasn't what Jen was saying at all. So, I mean, and then she gets back to camp and like they want to kill one of her chickens. Like, it just nothing was going right for Jen.
And then Rodney did his impersonations, and all was right in the world. Because that Mike impersonation was one of the greatest things. To do that guy's voice, because we've been saying all along, this guy has a weird, raspy voice, and it always sounds like he's like grunting and like forcing out. For Rodney to do it that spot on, it was actually disturbing. And even the Dan one was creepy in how good it was. Like, where was this side of Rodney the whole time?
I know he's always been kind of a funny guy, but this was impressive. Like, I've tried to do the Dan the Mike impression a few times. Hey, dude, like, it's tough to, like, that's really tough to do. It's not easy. And he kind of just nailed it. And even Jen was laughing, who, like, by that time was just having the worst day, like, of her life. And she was even giggling, cracking up. Like, her friends had been eaten. Her other friend was voted off. Like,
yeah.
It was a great impression. Rodney seemed just like he was, like, drunk from the chicken. Like, he had something so long that this chicken just got him, like you said, where was this? I think it was the chicken.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. He needs his protein. He's a big guy. He needs his protein. And he's out there. He's eating rice and whatever else he's got. And he was struggling from day one. And when he was arguing with Mike about how he's shaking because he wants to eat his rice, I think you get food in him and he probably gets a lot less cranky. But when you're that hungry, I'm not surprised he gets as cranky as he does. It was just great to see. that Mike impersonation, I was laughing the entire time. I couldn't believe how good it was. And I'm glad they kept going with it because I kept wanting to hear more. And Will's sitting there going, come on, man, just keep going. Just keep going. Just like, it was funny. That was a great scene.
Yeah, no, I'm glad they, showed us that much of it. And then Joe even says, like, he like reads into this impression, like, Rodney, has something with Mike. They're not all buddy as it appears. So he was going to use that. I mean, I thought that was going to lead to something kind of strategic or cool, like this silly impression kind of playing a bigger role. It didn't, but I mean, what Joe noticed is true. Mike and Rodney have been butting heads forever, and it seems like that will play out in some way next week.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, that's been building since they started showing Blue Collar. And that's been building and building and building. And it looks like next week it's finally coming to a head. And of all people to really cause it to come to a head, it looks like Will might be the one who really starts bringing out the division along this alliance. And it might be how Shireen and Jen can sneak in with Dan, Sierra, and Mike and go to the final five. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Maybe not the final five because Carolyn's got the idol and Tyler is still there. But I wouldn't be surprised if Rodney ends up losing this battle next week.
Yeah. It's at this point, now that Joe's gone, I think we're in for a really strong finish to this season. And I'm not saying this episode is bad by any means, but it was a little bit, okay, it's either Jen or Joe. We kind of assume that going in. I think from here on out, though, I mean, you have Carolyn and Tyler kind of still just, where are they? They think they're with Rodney. We have Will, who is actually going to say something next episode, who yells next episode. And then you have still Shireen and Jen, and by no means is Jen not going to try to win this game. I know this episode looked bad for her, but I'm not saying I think she's going to win, but she will want to mess some people up. And then you have like with Shireen approaching Rod or with Mike. I mean, it's going to get really, really exciting.
I think this week we only heard from maybe half the cast, and the rest of it was kind of like they didn't really know what was going on. I feel like next week's going to be the mayhem has ensued. People are constantly scrambling because if Rodney and Mike start arguing, Rodney's not one to sit back and go, let me evaluate the situation. He's one to go, we're voting Mike off tonight. And Shireen might see that, and Jen might see that, and it all comes back to why Shireen's move tonight was fantastic to get rid of Joe, because Mike told her, get rid of Joe. Write down Joe's name and we trust you. And Mike's been honest with all that stuff. So now Shireen does that. Mike trusts her. Shireen didn't do it for Mike. Shireen did it for Shireen.
Oh, yeah, of course. And Shireen even said, like, I really like Jen and I want to honor Jen's wishes, but she's still fighting to play this game and she still wants to win. I mean, we can get into that, her decision once we get to Tribal Council. But I'll throw it out there right now. Shireen for MVP. I mean, it seems like you agree also.
Yeah, I think Shireen's the MVP, and I think Shireen is starting to finally grow on me because at the beginning I couldn't stand her. I think Max getting voted out of the game was the best thing to happen to Shireen, and her and Max ending up on the same beach at the beginning of this game is the worst thing to happen to either of them. I almost guarantee if they didn't end up together, Max would still probably be in a game because I think that their annoyingness was just like, because they were together, and if they were separate, it would just kind of mellowed out and they didn't have anybody to feed off of.
Yeah, but if they both would be on separate tribes, they both make the merge, and then they would start to annoy everybody.
You know what it is,
kind
though?
of inevitable.
Day one alliances are normally, it seems like day one alliances are stronger than later alliances. And when you walk onto the island with somebody and you're looking for ways that like you can connect with someone, you'll look for anything. And then personalities rub off on each other. When you're at the final 10 or final 11 and you already kind of know people, you don't have to force it so much. And the personalities of people that you have that you're only going to know for 3 days aren't going to rub off as hard as people you've known for 21.
No, right. Yeah, I think they were both at a disadvantage. Not a disadvantage, but it just didn't work out, them being kind of clicking so hard. Okay. We now have the pre immunity challenge stuff, and Jen is saying that if she wins, she's gonna give it to Joe. When she first said that, did you believe her here?
You know what? I kind of did, but at the same time, I was like, if she wins and she gives it to Joe, I thought she was going to win and pull a Dreams and just keep it. And Joe was going to go home anyway, because I just felt like this episode, there was just something about it was like Joe's going home.
Yeah, it felt like Joe's going home episode, but I did believe Jen saying because she honestly was like, man, if I tell them I want to go, there's no way they'll vote for me. This is the only way I can assure I'm going home. It's like that's why she was fighting so hard to win immunity, was that so she could go home herself. And like I really did believe in her. As the challenge went on, it's like she was really going for it. And she kind of wanted, I think, to go out not considered to be a quitter. But look, I think Joe has a better chance at winning. He's my friend. He deserves to be here. He's a great competitor. I'm going to go out, win this immunity, save him from a sure death, like Joe is surely going. And then Jen goes, but kind of like a martyr in the way to save her friend Joe. That's a way better way to go out.
It's pretty much a quit at that point. I mean, I feel like it's a quit if she gives up the necklace to Joe and knows she's going home. They're voting her off, but I feel like it's a quit. At the same time,
it's a quit, but it's such a like. It wouldn't technically be a quit if she gets voted off, and it's not like she's asking people to vote for her. She's saying the only way I know I will get votes is if Joe is safe. So that's her like means of doing it. Like it's definitely borderline, but it would definitely be one of the better quits, I guess, ever.
Like she
Probably
said
the best quit.
Like she said at Tribal, it would have been cool just to win immunity. And like Jeff was really reaming into her, like, can you want to be here and not want to be here at the same time? And she's like, yeah, I kind of want to go home, but I would have liked to have won individual immunity. And she even told everybody she was going to give it to Joe because it would have screwed all them up. I think she was just trying to mess up the game because she didn't think
she doesn't want to, pour the rice in the fire like a crazy, but she wants to win immunity and give it away to the most dominant person, and that someone who's her friend in her alliance. So I did believe her going in. The thing was, I was like, there's no way Jen's going to win. And then
she almost did.
We get to this challenge, and Joe goes, and Jen's still one of the ones remaining. And then, like, Sierra goes, and Carolyn. Everyone's falling. You're like, oh, my God. This, like, what? Like,
yeah. The way it was edited, it seemed like they threw that in so that it was like maybe Jen will give it to him if she wins. And then when it came down to Jen and Tyler, I'm like, Jen's going to win this. And that's going to be the huge storyline here. Does she give it to Joe? And I thought that she wasn't going to give it to Joe, and that's why Joe went and made the fake idol like he did.
I was just so excited to see, if she would do it and how she would do it. Like, would you just wait till like the last second, and then they'll have to change their votes? I mean, they probably would have split the votes on like Joe and Shireen anyway, I guess. Well, maybe not, because now Mike and Shireen had this. So It would have been fun. When Tyler won, I was like, because Tyler wasn't really in any danger. There was that brief Carolyn, like early on, when Shireen told Mike, I don't trust Carolyn. I don't like Carolyn. She'd be one that I would want to go after. And she's in that Rodney 4. So we'll have to watch out for what happens to Carolyn next week. But Tyler wasn't in any trouble. So it would have been cool to see Jen win. She didn't. Congrats to Tyler, though. That was a good challenge.
Yeah, I like that challenge, and it was cool to see Tyler win. Gets me fantasy points. And, I mean, Tyler, once again, he's just the quiet. He does what he's supposed to do, I feel like. Like, every week, Tyler's doing exactly what he's supposed to do to help himself in the game. And he just keeps on being quiet and, playing a good game. And in a season full of loudmouths, it might not be a bad strategy.
You know what I kind of wanted to see? Maybe not for this challenge, but I just love seeing it. It's when Jeff brings out food while they're doing these endurance challenges. And this one was almost too hard because it just went by pretty quickly.
It only took a half hour.
Yeah. So, like, if it would have taken longer. I mean, last season we had Natalie, like, order something. Like, Jeff was, like, at a restaurant. I mean, that was a little too much, I thought, because, like, she was in second place and, like, she was probably going to lose anyway. So that was a little too much. It was still cool, though. It was funny, but that was like survive. That whole season was just like, Jeff, can I trade for this? Can I do this? Like, no one really knew how to play, really. I wasn't a fan of ordering. I think if Jeff brings something out, you have to step down. I love seeing that. So maybe we'll get one of those down the road. Okay, we have a post tribal or a post challenge now. Nothing too crazy.
I mean, Joe made the idol. That was the big thing here.
And yeah, they said they're going to split the votes. Shireen is talking about this numbers loophole. It didn't seem like that big of a loophole, though. It seems like anyone could kind of figure this out. And then again,
I thought when she did this, this is my whole thought process here. When she said there's a numbers loophole and they're going to split the vote, I thought what she was going to do is she's going to go over to Sierra and say, hey, Sierra, vote with us. And then she was going to have 4 people in her alliance going up against only 5, and they only had to transfer. They only had to convince one other person to come with them the next time. And I thought that she was going to use the split vote, kind of like Will did, to get rid of Vince. I thought that's what we were about to say.
That's oh my god. When she said number loophole, I was like, yes. Like Shireen, you claim you're the super fan, and she even said, because I know what to do, number loophole, and then it was very lame. It was something just like, it was like when she said, oh, I need to get Kelly on our side because she's the only blue collar. It was like one of those things where it's like, Shireen, that's anybody can see that. Yeah, Joe can vote for Jen. Jen can throw a vote away.
What I thought was cool was how she orchestrated it to make sure that Joe voted for Jen and Jen threw her vote away because she knew Jen wanted to go home. And Shireen made it seem like, yeah, I'm going to get rid of Jen. You know, I thought it was cool how Shireen made sure she was deciding who was going home. And I think she completely made the right choice because if Jen's talking about quitting, Joe could go on an immunity run, win the whole thing because everybody likes him. So keep around the person who seems like they're getting ready to quit and is your closest ally. Get rid of probably the biggest threat in the entire game.
Oh yeah, it was a great. Yeah, she totally knew. She was like the only one who knew where everyone was voting. Kind of left up to her. So yeah, kudos to Shireen there. So we had that vote loophole, which wasn't as exciting. When she said it, I was like, okay, what if get Jen, up again, give her this plan, maybe get some excitement in her. It'd be Joe, Jen, Shireen. I was thinking use Mike to blindside Carolyn, or Carolyn. So you have 4, and let's say they were splitting the votes 4 and 3. Mike was probably one of the people voting Joe. So then it would be 3 for Jen, 3 for Joe, and then Shireen, Jen, Joe, Mike. That's 4 can vote Carolyn. Like that's what I thought was going to happen. Like because they kind of set it up earlier, that would have been amazing. Still though, Shireen definitely took out Joe, a huge threat, and Jen's going to lighten up. She's not going to be dead weight. It's Jen.
Yeah, I think that was just like Haley's gone. She could have spent maybe, 3 days between the votes? I don't even know if that's still what it is anymore. But she could have spent time with Haley, just drinking, hanging out, whatever. She didn't think she had a chance. Once Jen sees a little bit of a chance, a little glimmer of hope, like I think there's going to be next week, her and Shireen might jump on it, and Shireen and Jen might be a good duo here towards the end. I think that the two of them might jump on an opportunity they see and really turn this game on its head. And I hate to say this because I love Jen so much more than Shireen, at least at the beginning. But whatever happens is going to probably be because of Shireen.
Yeah, no, she's going to be a player in this game. We saw that tonight. She's going to definitely wreak havoc somehow, some way. We saw so much of her, and she's really, she's going on me too, but I'm still not saying she's not annoying. She's an annoying person that she does have some kind of, game awareness here. Okay, so the other thing that happened pre-tribal was this Joe Mike deal, which I thought was kind of like, okay, I understand Joe. He's been like collecting pieces from his torch, from camp, from feast, from rewards. That's pretty cool. I didn't know he was doing that. He's got it like buried somewhere. I don't know if that's what people have usually done to build fake idols, but that was cool to see at least. And then he is a jeweler. He is kind of a crafty dude, no collar, and he makes a pretty darn good fake idol.
Yeah, I thought the fake idol thing was cool. I just think his whole strategy with it to give it to Mike before the vote, I mean, that has to be a sign to Mike that this isn't real. What he should have done is said, Mike, I'll give it to you after the vote because if I don't think that you're going to stay with me, I'm going to use it tonight. I don't think that he should have given it to Mike before the vote because when Mike pulled that out at Tribal, I was shocked because that pretty much said, it's not mine, and you didn't save yourself either. Like, you pretty much said it was mine.
But with Joe, it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If Mike doesn't get this idol from Joe, there's no way in hell Mike believes him. And then if you give it to him, Mike's got an idol of himself that he can just compare it to, and he knows it's fake. I mean, it was never really going to work. That was kind of the problem with the whole. I mean, a fake idol can always do wonders, and Joe doesn't know that Mike found the idol. If Mike hadn't found the idol, and he looked for 2 days, and he knew Joe saw the clue first and had a little step, then we're talking. And that's what Joe, was hoping for. But Mike sees this thing, and it's just like, I mean, he has one of his own. He knows that's not an idol.
And that's just bad luck on Joe's part. I mean, I feel like Joe was kind of going for the Bob. It was like, if I can make one that looks convincing enough, I can get some people on my side. He went to the biggest power player, just not knowing that the biggest power player already had an idol.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, exactly. So he just got kind of, unlucky there. But still go for it.
I was just going to say, I was happy at the Tribal that Jeff didn't tell Mike that it was real or fake before Mike played it, because that would be bullshit if they could do that. I mean, that would just be pretty much cheating.
I was really, when I was almost sure that was going to be Jeff's answer. Like, I feel like Jeff loves saying stuff like, I cannot help you or tell you what to do, or I cannot verify that. I knew that's what he's going to say. We hadn't seen that before, though, so it was at least interesting to see Mike, ask and bring that up.
He tried,
Yeah. Anything that happened before Tribal, or should we just get right into Tribal?
I think that was really it. It was just about the idol for the most part.
Idol, and then Shireen kind of, having the balls in her court. We didn't know what Mike was doing or what Shireen was doing. I never really once thought Mike was going to take Joe's bait. So I knew it was up to Shireen. And I was saying, Shireen's, she's not going to, like, Jen and her aren't that good of friends for me. Like, I need to honor Jen's wishes to hurt my own game. Like, no, it really furthered Shireen's game a lot to vote against Joe, vote with Mike, and keep, Jen's kind of, even Mike called her a goat. Like, Jen might be a goat now.
And I think the Mike thing was thrown in there just to try to create some sort of suspense that Jen might go, because I think everybody was kind of assuming Shireen was going to vote out Joe, because if she's that much of a super fan, you don't keep around challenge threats because they go on what the Colby run, the Terry run, the Kelly Wigglesworth run. Like, you don't do that. So get rid of them as soon as you can, and don't give them another chance, and keep around the person who seems like they want to go home and who's loyal to them.
Yeah, exactly. I always forget what was actually said between people at Tribal. I think we have the idol verification, which was cool. Jen kind of saying she wants to be here, but she doesn't. She doesn't really. We didn't get a big Haley, flippers never win thing tonight. I guess the best part was like what you said earlier was when I think Rodney was Rodney first and said, I don't know.
Tyler first.
Tyler first, I don't know what's going on. And then Rodney's like, I don't know what's going to happen. So that was that was fun to see. Especially because this was Joe going home, like kind of the whole, like we knew once the moment the thing tipped off his head, like he was going to go. So
yeah, it was kind of like the story might have revolved around the bigger players down the stretch here, and Carolyn and Tyler very well still could be bigger players. I'm not saying they're not. It just seemed like this episode was like Mike, Shireen, Jen, Joe, and Rodney. Those are the people who are either calling the shots or are completely screwed. And I feel like Dan, Sierra, they're not really doing much.
Yeah,
Will's not doing much. He's just following Ronnie around.
And
Carolyn and Tyler haven't had to make the big move yet. They're kind of settled in, it seems like. So it was like, let's worry about these five, get through this episode. There's always one of these episodes after the merge where only half the cast shows up and the other half is kind of a no-show. And I think next week is going to be a crazy episode with a lot of screaming and a lot of yelling and a lot of fun. And hopefully some flipping and some power stuff, because if you look at because we kind of were saying this as we go on the merge, it's blue collar versus no collar. If you look now, it's Jen and Shireen, I guess, as the two no collars, even though Shireen wasn't originally one, versus the 7. So yeah. It's like now, and it's an odd number 9, which is when a lot of flips happen, and it's just I think next episode is going to be one of the better ones of the season. Really, really looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm hoping that this is a big one, and then hopefully we get a friggin' preview for the advantage, because I'm starting to get impatient.
Do you think they're gonna put it in a preview?
I think they will, because if it's as big as they're saying it is, why would they not hype it up as much as they can?
It feels like it's like you're telling me already that's not going to be next week, and it sucks. That's already the case, and we haven't seen next week's episode. I know it isn't. I mean, so far we haven't seen anything about it. What if there just isn't one, and Jeff was lying? Is that at all possible?
I
No,
mean,
it's not.
yeah, that would be kind of scummy.
They've talked it up too many times. Okay. Do you want to get into bootless rankings?
Well, I think that we both kind of agree Shireen's MVP, so I think we're going to probably put her down as MVP. You guys can still vote or try to make a case.
Let's think for who else. I mean, you'll probably
Rodney,
Mike
for the Phantom Tribe because it was Rodney, Carolyn, or Will, and Rodney was funny this week at least. Carolyn and Will didn't really do anything. And then I guess for me, I had Tyler, Sierra, and Mike. I mean,
Tyler,
I guess I would say Mike again. What's up?
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I think Shireen is. I mean, our listeners they vote and they usually get it right. I think.
Yeah, especially that week when Mike beat Jen the first time and made Willie cry. That was the best.
I really had a campaign there, and I still think it was a very risky move. But the second time Mike won, it was pretty clear. Even though Joe, did win 2 individual challenges one week. Okay.
Joe went home.
I'm not nominating Shireen. I think she is now totally she's kind of got a Final Four ticket here, almost. That's what she's looking at.
If she can make it through this next vote and kind of play with the numbers a little bit and kind of get it where she's not going to get one vote and then be the next one voted off. I think she could make a deep run. She might be sitting in the final 3, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Jen and Shireen sitting in the final 3 at all. I really wouldn't be surprised if neither of them win, and whoever they're sitting there with ends up winning. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was Mike. Wouldn't be surprised to see a Mike, Jen, Shireen final 3, which I wouldn't even be mad about at this point.
I want to see Rodney win right now, honestly.
Yeah,
that'd be the best. If Rodney wins Survivor Season 30, just would be great.
That'd be cool. I mean, Jen pissed me off tonight because she was too whiny about it. And I've never been a Joe fan. I think I've been the only one against Joe all year. And tonight I was like, damn, I feel bad for Joe. I feel so bad for Joe.
His final speech at Tribal was come on, I have to win literally 9 more in a row. Come on, guys. Give me another week. We have someone who wants to go home.
He'll make it fun.
Make it fun. Yeah, make it challenging. And that almost never works, that argument. I don't think it –
Yeah, dude, it was for $1 million. You can't really keep somebody around to keep it fun. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Joe playing next season. Yeah,
I think he should be one of the people asked back. Just because next season there'll be a whole bunch of threats. He won't just jump out like a sore thumb.
And based on recency bias and stuff, I don't see how if Joe's up there for nominees and we all get to vote, I don't see how Joe doesn't get on.
Right. Yeah. And I think he was really well liked and received.
Yeah. All right. Bootless.
Okay. Yes, I want to know.
This guy. What's up?
Go. I'm excited. I'm just saying I'm pumped because I used to score these and now I haven't been. So I'm in the dark here.
This got a lot closer this week. And Jokesters, who started off real hot, and we were like, there's no way that guy's not going to get a buff. It seems like he's got it set in the bag. He had Joe winning it all and Haley in third. So he hasn't had a good since the merge. He hasn't been doing so hot. And Adam Klein is actually in first place with 30 points. Jokesters is in second with 32. Rob Kellogg has 33. Noah Trader has 34. Popsicle Inc. has 37. Son of Nuo, Sarah Christina, Sarah Harkins, Sam Helberg, Dory Magica, and Alec Blackson all have 38. There's a lot of people with 39. I got 43 and you got 44. So we are right there.
Good to hear it.
This is getting a lot more. This is getting a lot closer. Joe was a big one for a lot of people. A lot of people had Joe going final 3, final 4, final 5. This is a lot of points for some people.
Yeah, I'm sure. And it also, I don't think these, as many people you said have 39 and you're at 43, I'm at 44. It really depends who you have high that hasn't yet been voted out. If you had Carolyn going out in second, she's probably sticking around for a while. And I had Dan. Dan's my only one pre-merge that is still in the game. So I just need Dan to go soon because I think we could probably, if we really wanted to, go through these lists and calculate people who aren't in the running just because they have, people just too high. They put them too
if
high
you've lost your winner already, you're pretty much screwed. If you've lost your winner or if you still have your 18th place person still in, I don't know how you come back and win. I really don't. And a lot of people had Tyler in 18th place, so I don't know how a lot of those people can win.
Yeah, exactly. If you have Tyler, he seems to be in a pretty good spot too. Okay, so thank you for that, Phil. I'm excited I love that game. I think it's fun. And it's cool that the best possible score you could get for that game is 0. And we're only at episode 9 or ninth place out of 9 people left out of 18. So, halfway done. And people already, the best score is in the 30s, right? Or 29.
No, the best score is 30. And I mean, there's people who I think the worst score is 67. I think I saw when I was doing this.
Yeah.
67 points a lot.
Yeah. So it's like, but we're at 30 already. So it's cool that no one cheated too, because maybe one of the players saw this and, just wanted to buff. Not that they would want to buff.
It seemed like at the beginning there might have been like some spoilers, like for maybe like the first 2-3 votes, maybe like kind of who went pre-merge. Because since the merge, nobody's even been close with the Joe, Haley, and like all the high scorers haven't even been close with the Joe, Haley, and who was the other vote? Kelly. They haven't really been close. So
good to see. I'm excited. Yeah. I think I can still pull it out. I just need Dan to go within the next couple episodes. Okay, so we'll do our prediction video on probably Sunday, maybe Monday, maybe Saturday. Who knows? Most likely Sunday. So if you want to comment your predictions, we'll read them in our prediction episode. We'll do our power rankings then. I think Phil's got the power rankings locked up at this point.
I'm up.
We both had Joe at the bottom there. I just got really screwed with that Max boot. I still don't know why he didn't shut his mouth. What about the scores for the fantasy tribes?
We're tied, but if you get the 3 points for Shireen, you'll be up 3. And we'll both have the same. You know what's crazy? You have 3 people left. I have 3 people left, and the Phantom Tribe have 3 people left. So we all are even, and we're beating the Phantom Tribe each by 28 points. Like that's how good. Like the Phantom Tribe was bad. Like we did good with that.
Thing about Phantom Tribe, they don't have anyone campaigning for MVP from them, but
nobody's really been MVP material from their
team. Did they ever win?
Like,
did Carolyn ever win MVP?
No, the only time she probably could have won was week 1, but I think we gave it to Joe because he pretty much like did everything.
Yeah, he started the fire. Yeah. Poor Joe, man. I'd like to see him back. He was a good one. Okay, so yeah, comment your predictions, questions, thoughts, anything really. We'll discuss them because as we do our power rankings, the shows they just get shorter and shorter. With we're gonna have 9 people left. It won't take long to get through that. So we want to get anything really Survivor related. We also will do a season 31 voting podcast once that official list comes out. You can tweet at us at Phil_and_Will. And you have anything else, Phil?
Nope. I'll see you guys whenever we do our next thing.
All right. Yeah, most likely Sunday. Thanks for listening.